Welcome to today's edition of the Statler Financial Radio Show. Your financial security is our business. Have a question for the team? Call today, 863-877-1188. That's 863-877-1188.
Welcome to the Statler Financial Radio Show. I'm Stephanie Griffin, joined today by Philip Statler, president and founder of Statler Financial Services. We often hear about the lifestyles of the rich and famous, but what about the quietly wealthy, the people who build fortunes without all that flash? Well, we're going to get into some of the habits they use to help grow and preserve their wealth. But first, good morning, Philip. How are you?
Hey, good morning, Stephanie. Doing well. It is tax season is here.
Yes.
People will start bringing their tax returns in for Heartland Tax and Accounting. That's our tax practice. So we are gearing up. And so not only that, but we're starting our review process for our clients and getting some reviews done. And obviously, we are also out there meeting with new folks. So we're excited about 2026 and what it holds, and looking forward to what it brings this year.
Well, you sound like you're starting off very busy, which is always good. That's great.
Well, you got to stay busy because, I like to take a little break here, a little break there. So you got to be busy in between the breaks.
Work hard, play hard, right?
That's right. Exactly.
So, Philip, in your experience, what makes a wealthy approach their finances differently from other folks?
Well, Stephanie, that's a great question. Yeah, and it comes down to a couple things. And one of them is their mindset. And most folks that I meet with that are what I call quietly wealthy, you wouldn't know that they have a lot of money. It is that they have a clear plan. They've always been planners, and they've done a good job. They focus on strategies that help build long-term wealth, not just look wealthy, right? Not just buy a new car or look flashy. They literally have a plan in place. They treat their finances like a business with intentional decisions about saving, spending, and investing. They've got it broken down into those groups. And so they know how much they're saving each and every month. And that's why, Stephanie, getting professional guidance is so valuable. It helps you build a similar strategic plan to stay on track. And that's the key is having a plan, following the plan, and staying on track.
And, I did not mention your phone number. Let me do that. And you could talk to Philip and his team about preserving your lifestyle in retirement. Give him a call. You can also visit 863-877-1188. That number again, 863-877-1188. And what is one habit you see among wealthy individuals that anyone could adopt?
Well, I think one of the biggest ones I see, Stephanie, is instead of buying flashy items to look rich, they focus on strategies that actually build wealth. They're not always buying new cars. They're buying a car that may be a couple years old. It might be a nice looking car. It may be a high end car, but they're not paying showroom prices. They're getting a better deal by buying something that's a year or two older, no low miles, that kind of thing. That's where I see them really ahead of the curve for most folks out there. And the other thing is they understand the true financial freedom is about what you own and grow, not what you're showing out there. That's the key is, hey, look, what I have hidden away that you can't really tell that I've got it. And this frees up significant capital that they can then put to work, which then grows their wealth even more.
This describes my dad to a T. He drives an old truck. He's doing wonderfully. He's in retirement, doing wonderfully, but he drives an old pickup truck. I love that about him. He's such a great guy. So what role does tracking spending have in a financial plan play into the building wealth?
Well, I think that, those folks, those quietly wealthy, they're masters of tracking their money and making it work for them. A high percentage of wealthy individuals have a detailed financial plan and a budget. I know none of us like budgets, but they've got it all put together. And they know where every dollar is going, which allows them to save and invest with intention. And it's not about restrictions. It's about making sure your money is aligned with your goals so that you can have that life that you've always dreamed of in retirement.
This is a Statler Financial Radio Show with Philip Statler. So, Philip, what are some of the ways the wealthy build and maintain multiple sources of income?
Well, Sammy, that's a key strategy for those that are really kind of quietly wealthy. They've created multiple streams of income. So here's the deal: relying on a single paycheck or even just one source of retirement income, it can be risky. What if something happens to that one source? We want to have multiple sources of income streams coming in. The wealthy actively seek out other income sources like business ventures or real estate and dividend paying stock portfolios. These things can help accelerate their financial growth and creates a more resilient financial foundation. Look, if you're worried about wealth, your financial plan is built to last. One of the things you can do is take action. If you're listening right now and you've saved at least $250,000 or more for retirement, my team here at Statler Financial can help. This is a free, no obligation analysis, but spots really do fill up quickly. Call us 863-877-1188 right now to schedule your appointment. That number again, 863-877-1188.
If you're just now joining us, we're talking about the habits of the wealthy and ways you could apply them to your own life. Philip, what are some of the ways the wealthy reduce the amount of taxes they owe and keep more of their earnings?
Well, they tend to be very focused on tax efficiency. So to do that, they work with a professional to use every available strategy that they can muster up there, like managing capital gains, strategic charitable giving. Those things help minimize their tax burden. And then let's face it, the less they pay in taxes, the more capital they have to reinvest and grow.
What kinds of investment strategies do the wealthy typically use, and how do they differ from what most people might do?
Absolutely, Stephanie. They often look at alternative investments like private equity and hedge funds. These alternative investments aren't typically available to the average investor. One, because of high minimums. Sometimes you got to put $100,000 or more into a single investment for them. The other thing is typically you have to be an accredited investor, meaning that you have to have a certain amount of income, you have a certain amount of assets in order to qualify to be able to even participate in those type of investments. These type of investments can help and allow them to diversify beyond the traditional stock market and potential capture higher returns. So that's the key is the bigger you get, the more options that you have available.
Now, if you'd like to get an appointment with Philip Statler of Statler Financial, all you have to do is call or text the word visit to 863-877-1188. That number again is 863-877-1188. Sit down for your free visit with Philip Statler. Philip, what legacy planning tools or strategies do you see wealthy individuals using to help preserve and transfer their assets?
Well, they commonly use advanced financial structures like trust to help preserve their legacy. And the reason is that different types of trust can help shield assets from creditors and minimize estate taxes, which is a good thing. And these tools and techniques help ensure their wealth is transferred efficiently to the next generation, so that their wishes continue generation after generation.
Now, Philip, being strategic seems to be the common thread here. What's the most important thing for our listeners to consider doing right now for their retirement?
Well, I think one of the most important things folks can do is to do something. Take action. Listen, you've worked hard for your money. Now it's time to implement the strategies to make it work for you and your family over the long term. And that's the key is to having a strategy, taking action. So listen, if you're listening right now and you've saved at least $250,000 or more for retirement, this is your chance to take control of your financial future. And here's some ways we can help. We'll review your current financial plan to help ensure it aligns with your goals for growing and helping to preserve your wealth. We'll help you identify opportunities to help improve tax efficiency, explore strategies used by the wealthy, and will help give you confidence that you're on the right track for the retirement you always dreamed of. Folks, that's the whole compass of our core retirement design right there. Folks, this is free, no obligation, but spots do fill up quickly. Please give me a call, 863-877-1188. I'd love to get started with you today. Give me a call, 863-877-1188. Don't wait. It's the beginning of a new year. It's a great time to make sure that you're on the right path to the retirement you always dreamed of.
Well, we know tax season is getting ready to come up, and you mentioned you'll be pretty busy with that. What do folks need to do to get ready for tax season, or even maybe come in and talk to you more about their taxes?
Well, I think it's time to start gathering your stuff, right? You're going to start getting things in the mail that relate to taxes. The standard deduction is still high, so a lot of people still can't itemize. But there's some new things in the tax law that we've talked about in previous shows as we are getting ready for 2026 to roll over. That there's some things out there that you may be able to take a benefit of. I know seniors get a little extra deduction this year, which allows some people the ability to do some Roth conversions. I've had several clients that we've sat down and because they get that extra $12,000 for a couple as a deduction for helping to offset some of their Social Security that's taxable, we've been able to use that to do some Roth conversions and those type of things. And that's the key is you have to be strategic. You have to be ready and willing to make changes in order to stay current and make sure that you're doing all you can to preserve your wealth.
Give Philip a call at 863-877-1188. That number again, 863-877-1188. And the Statler Financial Radio Show will be right back. Turn your plans of yesterday into yes today. Don't wait another day for a routine checkup of your retirement plans. Call Statler Financial Services, 863-285-3815. That's 863-285-3815.
Surprise parties can be fun. Financial surprises, not so much, especially when you're retired, like finding out you owe more in taxes than you thought you would, or having to go back to work to make ends meet. Maybe you'll be okay, but why not double check just to be sure? Call Philip Statler at Statler Financial Services and schedule a no-cost retirement double check at 863-877-1188. Philip and his team have seen their fair share of surprises over the years and know how to help you avoid them. Call 863-877-1188 to schedule your no-cost retirement double check with Philip Statler at Statler Financial Services. Don't let a financial surprise derail your retirement dreams. Call 863-877-1188 now. That's 863-877-1188. You can also visit statlerfinancial.com for more info. Advisory services are offered through Second Half Financial Partners, LLC, an SEC registered investment advisor. Time to retire right. This is the Statler Financial Radio Show.
Welcome back to Statler Financial Radio Show with Philip Statler. He is the founder and president of Statler Financial Services. Thank you for listening today. We appreciate that. Now, I've got a startling fact for you. Running out of money is the number one retirement fear for 58% of Americans across all generations, which is not an irrational fear. There's people living in their 90s and beyond, and your retirement could last 30 years or more. That's quite a while. 3 decades of groceries, healthcare costs, and life to fund without a paycheck. Philip, let's tackle this head on. What makes the risk of outliving your money so real in today's world? And probably more importantly, what can you do about it?
Well, Stephanie, I think if we look at the whole scenario about the fear of outliving money, it is true. It is a true fear. The people worry about that all the time. Even the people that have a lot of money worry about that one thing. So I think it's because longevity has become the foremost challenge out there. Just to give you a statistic, couples at age 65 have a 50% chance one of them lives to age 93. I know in my life, my parents are both still living. My dad's 88. My mom's 83.
Wow. Yeah.
My grandmother on my dad's side, she lived to be 100. My grandfather on my mom's side lived to be 90. I mean, there's a lot of longevity in the Statler side of the family. I mean, I got a lot here.
You better plan for a long life.
Exactly. So I think that as people live longer, it becomes a challenge. And so the new normal seems to be that we have this stubborn inflation. Folks don't have pensions, and we've still got taxes to pay. Unlike my parents who, have a pension, a lot of folks today, that's not going to be the case. They're not going to have a pension. And then so people often underestimate life expectancy. And so their planning reflects that. And that can be difficult. I mean, I meet with people all the time that say, my health is an issue. My brother didn't live past 55. My dad didn't live past 68. So because of those things, I don't think I'm going to live very long. And so they underestimate how long they'll actually end up living. And so I think you have to plan for 30 plus years in retirement. And to do that, it requires some fundamental shift in our thinking. And that's really what we try to help folks do.
Let's talk about Social Security. Everyone seems to say delay until 70 for the maximum benefit, but I'm hearing that might not always be the right advice. What factors should people really consider when deciding when to claim?
So first, let's be real clear here. 70 gives you the maximum benefit, but that doesn't mean it's right for you. There's things we need to look at. I mean, you're right. Each year you delay past full retirement, which is 67 for most of us now. It's an 8% increase for every year you wait. So if you wait to 70, that's a 24% increase. I mean, nothing to sneeze at, right? And so that's one thing to consider. But you also have to look at health status, family longevity, need for income now, right? A lot of times health isn't good. So they need to get out of the workforce that they're in now. And the only way to do that is to start taking Social Security. Maybe it's not as early as 62. Maybe they're 65 and qualify for Medicare. That's a good time to kind of make that transition for a lot of folks. So that's an option. But you still have to look at things. Is that really the right time and the right way to do it? Delaying can help protect the surviving spouse's income. And I don't think enough people really focus on that when they're looking at retirement planning and Social Security planning, using it more as a death benefit for your surviving spouse, and then coordinating Social Security timing with retirement plan withdrawals. There's some things there that really can help you factor in when's the best time to start taking your Social Security.
If you have questions about any of this, call Philip, 863-877-1188, 863-877-1188, and he'd be happy to sit down and talk to you about any questions you might have. You were talking about withdrawal strategies, Philip. The old 4% rule that everybody talks about, is that still relevant? And with people living longer and markets being unpredictable, how should retirees think about safely tapping their nest egg?
Well, there's been some different studies that have been done over the years, especially since 2008, when we had that last super huge bear market. And so the things that have come out is that the 4% rule could be too rigid for modern retirement. It may be okay. It may not be enough. It may be too much. It depends on circumstances and which study you really go look at, because we've got what I call spending phases, right? When folks first retire, Stephanie, we call that the go-go stage, right?
Right.
We're just retired. We're excited. We've got our bucket list of things we want to get done. And so we're going, we go buy the new bass boat so we can go fishing all the time, or we go buy the RV because we're going to go from here to California and back. There's just a lot of things there. Then there's a slow go. That's kind of the next, I don't know, 10, 15 years, somewhere in there, where you slow down, but you still want to go. You're still excited. You still want to go see grandkids and kids and those type of things. You want to do that cruise a couple times a year, but you slow down. It's not quite as exciting as it was. And then you got the no-go years. And that's just when, as one of my longtime clients had told me a long time ago in the tax business, when I would say, look, you got all this money. Why aren't you going someplace? Why aren't you doing things? And he said, he's like 85 years old. He said, Philip, do you know what it takes for me to go? I got to pack up all my medications. I got all this stuff I got to pack up to go. And it just messes up my whole routine. It's not worth it anymore. And so that's the no-go years. So I think all of that to say that we need a holistic, risk-based guardrails approach to those type of things. That's just another way of determining what our income could be and how much we can start to take. And I think the other thing we need to kind of plan for or look at is the need for lifetime income planning. We need to have a plan in place. And Stephanie, that's why I created the Core Retirement Design, to help people do that. And one of those segments in that whole planning process is the income plan. And the income plan lays out for everyone the income they could get year over year for the rest of their life, and making sure that they don't run out of money. Folks, to get started is easy. Give us a call at 863-877-1188. That's 863-877-1188 to schedule your core retirement analysis.
You were listening to the Statler Financial Radio Show with founder and president Philip Statler, and he's here to talk to you about your retirement, your nest egg, what you've saved. And if you would like a second opinion from Philip, you can definitely give him a call, 863-877-1188. Once again, just so you have it, 863-877-1188. And we really can't ignore the elephant in the room, taxes. Between taxes on retirement plan distributions and Social Security taxation, do I keep going on here? Taxes, they could take a huge bite out of retirement income. So, Philip, what suggestions do you have for people trying to navigate the tax thing?
Well, I think you have to have a plan in place. And that planning process can help you navigate the whole tax situation. Because we know, at least right now, for the next, I'm going to say 3 years, we know that we're going to be in pretty low tax rates, right? 25, we're going to be good. 26, 27, I think even 28, we're going to be okay. So we've got a few years to do some good tax planning, but you have to do it. If you don't put together a plan, if you put together a plan and you don't follow it, then it does you no good. So we need to put a plan in place to help navigate through the tax complexities and help put you in the lowest tax bracket possible, not just for you, but for you, your beneficiaries, your estate, everybody. Make sure that we're looking at the whole picture, not just this little segment right now.
You have covered so many critical pieces on the show today. For somebody who's thinking this feels overwhelming, I don't even know where to start, how do you help people create a comprehensive retirement plan that addresses all these moving parts?
Well, we start with some nuts and bolts, right? We start with what is our risk? What risk should you have based on your current circumstances, your risk tolerance, how long do you have to retire, how old are you? All of those things. And then we measure that against your current portfolio. And typically, we find they just don't quite match up. A matter of fact, the other day, I was sitting with a guy that he wants to retire in the next 5 years. And we looked at his portfolio, and his portfolio is in the mid to high 70s. Well, his portfolio needs to be in about the mid 50s. So he's got too much risk in his portfolio for what he's trying to accomplish. And so we're able to help tweak that and get him on track for that retirement that he always dreamed of. And so I think that's the thing, is that we have to look at those things, and our core retirement design does that. We look at risk and we make sure that the risk we take matches up with where we should be. we look at that tax planning process and making sure that we have some kind of tax plan in place, and we know where those tax dips may be that we don't want to have to experience. And then lastly, we put together the infamous income plan. You need to have an income plan in place, folks. And we've talked about all the time, less than 30% of the folks out there actually have one. Let's take the time. Let's put together an income plan so that you know where you are and that your money's going to last throughout your lifetime, given the income you're going to need. It's that simple, folks. It starts, though, with you and I on the phone for 30 minutes, answering your questions, making sure that we know where you are, and making sure that what you've done so far is going to get you where you want to go. What's the end goal? Can we get you there? It's a simple to start. Give us a call at 863-877-1188. That's 863-877-1188. I'd love to sit down with you, get you started on our core retirement design. That number one more time, 863-877-1188.
All right, stay tuned. In our next segment, we'll explore the flip side of running out of money in retirement, dying with too much of it, why some retirees end up leaving far more than they intended, and what you can do about it. The Statler Financial Radio Show will be right back.
Needing a second opinion on your retirement plan or to see if you're paying more than your fair share to Uncle Sam? Schedule your complimentary visit today. Text VISIT to 863-877-1188. That's VISIT to 863-877-1188.
Surprise parties can be fun. Financial surprises, not so much, especially when you're retired, like finding out you owe more in taxes than you thought you would, or having to go back to work to make ends meet. Maybe you'll be okay, but why not double check just to be sure? Call Philip Statler at Statler Financial Services and schedule a no-cost retirement double check at 863-877-1188. Philip and his team have seen their fair share of surprises over the years and know how to help you avoid them. Call 863-877-1188 to schedule your no-cost retirement double check with Philip Statler at Statler Financial Services. Don't let a financial surprise derail your retirement dreams. Call 863-877-1188 now. That's 863-877-1188. You can also visit StatlerFinancial.com for more info. Advisory services are offered through Second Half Financial Partners, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor.
Welcome back to the Statler Financial Radio Show with founder and president Philip Statler right here in Sebring, Florida. Beautiful Sebring. So definitely give Philip a call if you have any questions about anything retirement. Here's something that might surprise you. Having enough money isn't always the problem. Many retirees have saved successfully their entire lives. They built up a substantial nest egg, and then they can't bring themselves to spend it. The psychological shift from building to using money. Philip, I can't even imagine having that problem. What are some of the problems that can arise when retirees don't make the adjustments needed when transitioning into retirement?
Well, I think that a lot of it is, let's look at it as a kind of a mountain climbing, right? We have to have different strategies for climbing up the mountain versus coming down the mountain. Stephanie, maybe you don't, but more people have accidents and die coming down the mountain than going up the mountain.
I didn't know that.
In mountain climbing accidents, yes, that is a fact. And so, but it is truly two different strategies when we look at investing. There's a strategy for growing your portfolio and accumulating money for retirement. That is a strategy. To switch buckets, to switch gears, once you retire, it is a different strategy, a 180-degree turn in the way you invest and plan for retirement once you're there. And folks, there's a lot of people that never make that change. They keep going and they keep living like they're working. That is one of the biggest mistakes I see is they don't change the way they approach their investments, or at least their advisor doesn't change the way they approach their investments. And they may say they're making a little bit less risky, but when you look at the numbers, it just doesn't add up right. The other thing that we run into is what we call the sequence of return risk. We don't know when the market's going to drop. We've had a pretty good run here over the last 5 to 10 years. We don't know when that's going to flip and we start having losses instead of gains on a regular basis. So, sequence of return risk is a big deal. And we need to plan for it. Need for, again, a written spend down plan. And that's hard for people. I've got clients all the time that come in and they've got plenty of money, but it is so hard for them to spend it. I had a client that came in and she said, Philip, I need a new car. You got plenty. Go pick whatever you want. Whatever you want, go get it. And she gets a little, I say little, a little Toyota Camry, which they're nice vehicles. And they do what they're supposed to do. Don't get me wrong. But she couldn't get herself to look at, a Lexus or a BMW or a Mercedes. That just wasn't in her wheelhouse because she didn't want to spend that much money, even though she had way more than she was ever going to use in her lifetime. So, that sounds like a simple, example, but I see it day in and day out, not just cars, but houses or, taking a trip or taking my grandkids on a trip. I mean, there's just all kinds of things that really applies to. But having something there so that we are spending the money we have. We don't want to overspend, but we don't want to underspend either, right?
Sure, there's kind of a happy medium in
That's right.
Yeah.
And so, some people, they have this die with zero philosophy, which is great, right? I'm going to die with nothing left. Well, it's kind of hard to plan that out exactly, because you don't want to miss right on the other side. You don't want to run out too soon. But you end up with money left over. And when it happens, you missed out on some experiences that you could have had.
Yeah, go have fun.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what retirement's about, enjoying the life that you worked hard to get to.
Now, certainly market volatility can hit retirees especially hard. It's one thing to watch your portfolio drop when you're still working and adding money. Entirely different thing when you're withdrawing from those declining amounts or accounts, rather, to pay for groceries. So how do retirees overcome the fear of selling investments when markets are down?
Well, it comes down to really a couple things. One is we need to understand your risk tolerance before the crisis hits. I go back to 2008. I've got several examples there that I love to talk about. One is the moderate investor back then thought, as I say, they thought they were moderate investors, right? Until their portfolio was down 15 to 20%. I mean, that's what the moderate investor lost in 2008. And they realized they really weren't a moderate investor. They were more of a conservative investor. And so you want to find that out before the crisis hits and not after. And so we do that by stress testing, various scenarios and various portfolios to see how that's all going to land. Having a written plan in place and following it helps with the emotional decision-making process. And then creating buckets, right? We have a bucket for spending, near term, midterm, and then we have a long-term growth bucket. Helps out as well. One example I like to always use when we talk about this exact scenario is a retired doctor that came to see me, and a very wealthy man, and he was taking out back at the beginning before the crash, he was taking out about 5%, which honestly was a little rich. for what he should have been taking out of his portfolio. But from, I think it was January of 2008 to December of 2008, he did not make any adjustments to the amount of money he was taking out of his portfolio.
Mm-hmm. What happened?
And, well, his portfolio was cut in half in a year.
Oh my gosh.
So that's how losses, when you're taking money out, can really and truly explode. And so we want to have a plan for that. And that calls for some diversification between risk and safety. And that's really my point to that story. And that's really, I was able to help them. They didn't become clients of mine, but I was still able to help them see that they were taking too much money out of their portfolio. And he made some adjustments, which helped preserve their portfolio for the long term.
You can call Philip at Statler Financial, 863-877-1188. That's 863-877-1188. And how scary to have that cut in half. That is frightening. Doesn't all this even become more difficult, Philip, for married couples where they have to also plan for the future needs of surviving spouse?
It really does, Stephanie. The problem is, and that goes back to Social Security strategies in place. And one of the things that I look at when I'm doing Social Security planning for folks is optimizing the survivor benefit so that the remaining spouse can get the most Social Security benefit they can. A lot of times people have what we call single life pensions. And so that can be a shock when that person dies, because that money dies too. And so that can be devastating to a couple, to the surviving spouse, not to have that money there. And so we ask that question, right? When we're doing our planning process, does your pension have survivor benefits? And what are those survivor benefits? Because it may not be 100%. It may only be 50%, or maybe zero, right? So we want to know what that is to help in the planning process. And you have to kind of model both scenarios, right? Because you don't know who's going to die. And maybe neither one of them die for a long time. Maybe they make it into their, late 80s or early 90s together. So there's all kinds of scenarios you have to run to determine, how to develop that income plan to best not only take care of the couple, but then take care of the surviving spouse at the same time. So there are, some things you have to do to make sure that happens right. And then looking at joint survivor annuities, folks, that can help protect reducing the income. So that's an area that can help as well when it comes to kinds of things. Folks, listen, it all comes down to planning. And that's what our core retirement design helps you to do. It helps you put a plan in place to make sure that the risk for you is where it needs to be, that we've got taxes to the least amount possible, and that we have an income plan in place so we know we won't run out of money in retirement. Give me a call. I'd love to spend 30 minutes with you on the phone. 863-877-1188. That's 863-877-1188.
There is a lot to consider, so don't be left in the dark and ask a lot of questions. Philip is there for you to do that and help answer them. 863-877-1188. You are listening to the Statler Financial Radio Show. Philip, what advice do you have for listeners who are maybe 5 to 10 years away from retirement and they realize they need to get serious about planning?
Well, and that's, that 5-year mark, you really do need to get serious about planning. 10 years isn't too early to start laying some foundations of what needs to happen and how it needs to happen. But you really do need to take that time and start putting a plan in place. Do I have enough to retire? At my current rate of savings, will I have enough to retire? Will it meet my cash flow need? That's the big question. And it's one of the questions you need to ask yourself, and you need to have a plan in place that's going to get you there. And, And that 5-year mark, folks, that's where you really need to get serious about planning. 10 years, it's nice if you can start that early, because especially if you're behind the curve, now you know, here's how much money I really need to be saving to make sure that I can retire in 10 years. You don't want to get caught off guard and wait to that 5-year mark and figure out, oh, I'm really behind. That may be too late. You might have to work. You may have to work a little longer, Stephanie, and that's people don't want to do that.
No, not at all. And if you're 25 listening now, start saving now for sure.
Start now. I mean, start putting $25, $50 out of every paycheck. Start just putting it away and don't touch it. And that's a big deal. If you can put it in Roth IRAs, that's the way to do it. And put all you can in the Roth till you cap out, and then start putting it into a non-retirement account.
For a free visit, make sure you text VISIT to 863-877-1188. That's 863-877-1188. And get that free consultation with Philip Statler. The Statler Financial Radio Show. We'll be right back.
Do you have a retirement plan but would like a second opinion? Call Philip Statler today, 863-285-3815. Statler Financial Services, 863-285-3815.
Surprise parties can be fun. Financial surprises, not so much, especially when you're retired, like finding out you owe more in taxes than you thought you would, or having to go back to work to make ends meet. Maybe you'll be okay, but why not double check just to be sure? Call Philip Statler at Statler Financial Services and schedule a no-cost retirement double check at 863-877-1188. Philip and his team have seen their fair share of surprises over the years and know how to help you avoid them. Call 863-877-1188 to schedule your no-cost retirement double check with Philip Statler at Statler Financial Services. Don't let a financial surprise derail your retirement dreams. Call 863-877-1188 now. That's 863-877-1188. You can also visit StatlerFinancial.com for more info. Advisory services are offered through Second Half Financial Partners, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor.
Welcome back to the Statler Financial Radio Show with founder of Statler Financial, Philip Statler, and we really appreciate you tuning in today. I'm Stephanie Griffin. We are getting ready to put Philip in the hot seat. We've got pressing questions from you, the listener, and we appreciate you letting us know. Any questions you may have, you can definitely email, go online, call, whatever you'd like to do, and we will ask Philip these. Are you ready to go, Philip?
I guess I'm as ready as I'm going to be, Stephanie.
I know you'll do great on this. Okay, Philip, first question. How can I help make sure my savings last through my entire retirement?
I think that is a good question, and I wish more people would think about that when they head into retirement. It's having a written retirement income plan in place. If it's in writing, it's more likely going to happen that way, as opposed to what I call shooting from the hip. Having that plan gives you more confidence in your retirement outlook. And I've seen people enjoy their retirement. It takes that uncertainty out and just gives them a better perspective on retirement as a whole.
What strategies can help me deal with market downturns when I'm retired?
Well, let's talk about strategies and downturns in the market. If you listen to my show much at all, you know that I'm a big believer when it comes to diversification. And not just the pie chart that you see on your statement. The first round of diversification needs to be that diversification between what is protected, meaning it cannot go down in value, versus market risk in the stock market. We need both. The question is, how much do we need in both? And that comes down to a couple factors. One that I like to look at is what we call the rule of 100. Minus your age from 100, that is a rough amount of what you should have at risk. So if you're 90 years old, that's going to leave you 10, right?
Right.
So 10% is what you would want invested in the market. Now that's just a starting point. For some people, it may be more. For some people, it may be less, depending upon their outlook and what their risk tolerance is as a whole. But first, everybody has to make that first determination. What percentage do I want safe? What percentage do I want in the market?
Now, life is about balance, I guess. So, Philip, what are some ways to balance growth and preservation in my portfolio?
Again, it comes down to everybody's different, right? How much growth they can handle. I recently had a conversation with a client who is getting close to that required minimum distribution phase of her life next year. And she said, Phil, I don't need the money. So what are we going to do with that money? I said, well, we'll open another account and we'll put it into that account. She says, I don't need it. So I think for that bucket of money, we can be a little bit more aggressive with that bucket of money because I wasn't planning on having it anyway. So it depends on everybody's different. And so it depends on their outlook and their current circumstances as to what that looks like. But initially, right, we're going to look at that rule of 100 as a starting point. And it may be, hey, you're 65 years old. That means maybe 35% should be in the market. But that's like I said, it's not a hard and fast number. Maybe, because of your risk tolerance, it shouldn't be 35. Maybe for you, it needs to be 45 or 50%. And so everybody's different. And so we don't pigeonhole anybody. We're going to walk through our process to determine what that number should be for them based on their values and based on their risk tolerance. Again, Stephanie, that's all kind of what we build in to our core retirement design because we want people to really be able to focus on their retirement and have that retirement they always dreamed of. Folks, to get started, it's simple. Give us a call, 863-877-1188. That's 863-877-1188 to spend 30 minutes with me to get all your questions answered.
And you can also text VISIT for that free consultation as well to that same number, 863-877-1188. And you are listening to the Statler Financial Radio Show. We're going to take a few minutes. It's our lightning round, and we're going to help probably me more than some of your listeners to get to know you a little bit better. You have 2 minutes, and I want you to answer as many questions as you can. We're doing Think Fast. Are you ready for this? We're going to start the time.
I guess I'm as ready as I'm going to be.
Okay, well, let's see what we have for you here. First question, what's the best vacation you've ever taken?
Yeah, Stephanie, I've been fortunate. I've had some great vacations, but the one that really sets me apart was the second time we went to Hawaii. We were able to bring our kids. And so our kids came over, and then I had an uncle and a cousin that met us over there. And so we spent about 10 days with everybody. My kids were there for about 2 weeks total. And then we sent them away. And then Joyce and I had a event to go to where we spent another 5 days. So that was probably my best because it was really the first big vacation I was able to take my kids on.
That is so nice. And it's beautiful there. I've been there and it's just lovely. It's very pretty. Yeah. What food could you eat every single day? That's a hard one.
This may sound a little bit different, but if it's the right coleslaw, I could eat coleslaw probably every day.
Really? I don't think I've heard that answer before. Somebody must make some really good coleslaw. Does your wife make coleslaw? Is she the one?
My grandmother, she does, but my grandmother made the best coleslaw.
I love that. Are you an early bird or a night owl?
I have become an early bird.
Yeah. This is a bonus question. Do you drink coffee when you get up in the morning?
I do. Actually, my coffee pot is programmed for 4:10 every morning.
Oh, wow.
And I get up between 4:30 and 5 every morning.
Good for you. Good for you. I like that. You got to get your day started. What is your favorite movie quote?
I don't have one.
You don't have one?
No, sorry to disappoint you.
That's all right. All right. What's one piece of advice you'd give your younger self? That's a great question.
It is. And I think that would be hey, whatever you do, you never fail.
Very nice.
You just have to keep trying new ideas to get to where you want to be.
I love that. That's really great. I think we all need advice when we're younger from our older selves. I think that's a great thing. What app on your phone gets the most use?
I'm embarrassed to say this, but I think according to my phone, which tells me every week, social media. So pretty much Facebook, unfortunately, gets probably the most that it shouldn't. I really need to delete that app, but
I think we're all, everybody in our age category looks at that pretty much every day. So you're not the only one. What's your favorite holiday?
I think my favorite holiday is Thanksgiving. I have great memories of both Thanksgiving and Christmas, but Thanksgiving was, I was born in Missouri, and so a lot of times, I've lived here since I was 8, but a lot of times we would go back to Missouri for Thanksgiving, and that was when all my cousins would all be there, and we'd all just have a great time.
Oh, a lot of good memories, it sounds like. What job did you want to have as a kid?
I wanted to be a veterinarian.
Awesome.
I didn't like to study. So
that's funny. So that didn't work, and you changed your mind and decided to become a financial advisor.
So then I wanted to be an attorney, but I didn't want to go to school that long. So I settled on being an accountant, and so that's then I morphed into the whole planning process.
Go to karaoke song, or do you have one? Do you like to karaoke?
I don't have one.
You don't have one?
I'm not really I can't remember. I think I may have karaoke one time in my lifetime.
Okay, well, I'm going to change that question up then. What is your favorite generation of music? You like the 70s? You like the 80s? What do you like?
I like the 60s and 70s. You know, when I listen to Sirius radio, it's pretty much on the 70s.
Yep, I knew I liked you for a reason, Philip. What's your favorite way to unwind after a long day?
I am, because I get up so early, by the time I come home, I'm really, especially if it's a work day, I've poured a lot of myself into my clients, making sure and helping them do what needs to happen. So at the end of the day, I'm usually pretty wore out, and I will veg out on the couch and listen to the news. If I'm not barbecuing, a lot of times I'm doing barbecuing. Yeah, I'll probably barbecue a couple times a week.
Wow. Well, that was I really enjoyed getting to know you better. Thank you for doing that for us. That was a lot of fun. Thank you for taking time, and make sure you give Philip a call and his team at Statler Financial Radio Show, 863-877-1188, 863-877-1188. And we will be back next week with Philip on the Statler Financial Radio Show.
Advisory services offered through Second Half Financial Partners, LLC, a SEC-registered investment advisor. The opinions voiced and information provided in this material are for general informational purposes only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine what investments are appropriate for you, please consult with a financial advisor. Second Half Financial Partners, LLC does not provide tax or legal advice. Please consult your tax or legal advisor regarding your particular situation. This radio show is a paid placement.